Hi, my name is Terry, and welcome to my podcast. We're going to talk a little bit about some knitting, maybe some sewing in the future, basically, any of my crafting sort of adventures. This is a new podcast that I'm starting, so this is going to be the very first episode. No, I may be a little bit late to the New Year's resolution for starting this, but putting it off and putting it off, and you know what? We're just going to do it. I am a fairly seasoned knitter. I've been knitting for almost 20 years. It is my primary crafting passion. I do a lot of my own designs. I don't tend to knit other people's work. I get really inspired by other people's work, but I have been dabbling in some designer patterns recently, so we are going to talk about those. But yeah, the reason why I wanted to start this is because I love knitting and I want to share that with more people. I have a very wonderful best friend. She and I do knit together, but it's a little bit hard to find a community for knitters where I am, coming from very sunny day in Saskatchewan, Canada. We are in the full depths of winter. It's quite a bit of snow outside. It's very, very white. It's actually really warm out today, which is quite nice. But the last couple of days, it's been in the minus 30s in Celsius. I'm not sure what that is in Fahrenheit. Maybe I'll figure that out and put it up there for our Imperial friends. And yeah, I just want to try to share what makes me happy with more people that will hopefully understand kind of where I'm coming from. I have a lot of people in my life that do kind of appreciate what I do and my passion, but they don't get it on the same level as crafting and knitting people. So yeah, and I'm also wanting to kind of re-engage with the world a little bit. Last few years, basically since COVID, things have been strange. I'm still a little bit in that weird COVID, like we don't interact with the world vibe, and that needs to end. We need to get away from that. I need to get away from that and try to engage with the world again and find happiness in different things. I used to be super, I wouldn't say super outgoing, but I used to do a whole lot more things outside of my house than I do now. And that's kind of sad. I'm kind of remembering where I was pre-COVID, and that is just the me that I want to get back to some physical habits that I used to have, a little bit more exercise. I'm recently coming off of a surgery, so the exercise part's going to have to be delayed a little bit, but I didn't want to delay this any more than I already did. I did try starting a podcast or like a YouTube channel about knitting a few years ago, and it really fizzled. I lost interest in it pretty quickly because I think I wasn't doing it for the right reasons. I was just, I'm going to start a YouTube channel and I'm going to, make money off of that. And that it was work. And I don't want this to be about work. I want this to be about my passions and something that I enjoy. And I enjoyed filming videos and editing videos when I was in high school. So this is more, for me, this is to document my creative process, get me back into a little bit of a routine that forces me to maybe take the time out of my day to do the things that I like to do and not just sit at home doom scrolling for hours. Like, I'm sure a lot of us do, but I want to try and get away from that. And the new year, coming up into spring, I felt like this was just a really good time to just knuckle down and do it. So all that being said, thank you so much for watching this if you are watching this, and let's get into some knitting. So as I said, I don't tend to knit a whole lot of other people's patterns. I would like to call myself an aspiring knitwear designer, but the reality of it is right now that I'm just knitting my own things. I would like to start actually putting some pen to paper as part of my New Year's resolution to actually document my knitting, my projects, and turn them into a document that other people can knit off of. Whether or not I start selling them is going to be a different thing. If I get maybe 3 or 4 done, I might do that. We'll see. If there's any interest in any of the products that I show that are me made or me designed, and you guys want to get a pattern for that, let me know. I will do my best to get working on that. I think sometimes you just need a little bit of motivation, but I feel like I'm rambling as my very first podcast episode. And it's probably true, but I keep looking down at my little mirrored screen here just to make sure that I'm still in focus. So I apologize if I do that a couple times. Yeah, kind of rambling a little bit. Let's get into my very first finished object that I want to show you. It's not my first finished object of this calendar year, but it is something that I'm very happy with my progress on, happy with the way that it turned out, happy that I persisted. But it is this little cowl here. This is knit up in Plotulopi. I will do my best to try and find the color and lot number. Might be a little bit hard to see. It is this really nice green, and kind of a little bit of a lace pattern here that I was initially planning on having this be more of a sample style cowl. I cast this on probably 2 years ago, and it just languished in a bag somewhere in my craft room and didn't get any love. And I was going to frog it. I was going to rip it out. But if you've ever knit in a like Icelandic roving style or pencil roving style yarn, they do not unravel very well at all. It's almost a little bit like mohair. You're better off throwing it into the freezer for a little while, well, like half an hour to an hour, and then that will help the fibers kind of lay down, and it does make it easier. But if you can at all help it, it's really not worthwhile to rip it back. So I just wanted to be done. It was at a pretty decent length when I did decide or like pick it back up. I think I was maybe 2 or 3 repeats away from the other end of the ribbing, and honestly, I'm quite happy with it. I think it's really cute, and it is very, very warm. And yeah, so this is a finished object of mine from very recent that I'm actually quite happy with. And so another finished object that I actually started and completed, I believe this year. When did I was initially thinking about mirroring the colors on the second mitten after I finished. I thought that would be a really, really cool kind of change to the norm. I might do that on the next set that I do, because I will be knitting these again. These are going to be my Christmas knits for next year. My plan for this year, since I've done this, I really enjoy knitting this pattern. So I'm going to have to look in my Knit Notes app to see the exact start date on this project, but I believe they're about 2 weeks old. And it is the One Day Selbu Mitts pattern. This is, again, going to be a little bit hard to see. The lighting's not great for this. So I'll try to insert some better pictures of this. This is actually such a nice mitt pattern. If anybody lives in a climate kind of like I do, where you really need to have good, warm winter wear, this is knit in another Icelandic roving style yarn. This is Alof. I'm going to say this very incorrectly. Alofslopi by Lopi. It's the same brand as that last one. This is not going to... Oh, it did actually show up correctly. That's fantastic. I knit these in the black color, which is 59, and then in this really beautiful maroon, which is color 1242. They do whip up so quickly. This is a very, very lovely pattern to do, especially if you are maybe a little bit newer into color work. This is my third color work pattern that I actually had on the needles, which is kind of crazy because I don't do a lot of color work. I'm very primarily a lace shawl knitter, but we did some color work recently. And you can get one of these done in a day. I had a friend over yesterday, my very lovely knitting friend that I had mentioned earlier. She's my best friend, known her for years. We started knitting kind of around the same time, almost 20 years ago. And I started one of these while she was over, the second one, which I think is this one, because there's this tiny little white tuft here in the first mitten that I just kind of noticed. But I started this while she was over. We watched a couple movies, knit, caught up, and I had sectioned off for the thumb at that point, put these on hold, and then when she left, I just kind of kept knitting away on it, and I did finish this set of this particular mitt in about 5.5, maybe 6 hours. And I wouldn't say that was a lot of very active speed knitting. It was very leisurely knitting. So if you are looking for a nice quick pair of, I would say it's like a worsted to bulky weight style yarn on some bigger needles, I did the small to medium size on 6mm needles, and they're lovely. They need a little bit of maybe a steam block just to get everything really set. I did not do that. So you can definitely see some of my tensioning issues. I think that'll work itself out a little bit. I'm not expecting these to be in pristine condition because I am obviously going to wear them. They're going to get wet. They're going to get a little bit felted. That's the purpose of mitts when you live in a cold climate, is they're really just to keep you warm. But these are lovely. And I know that they're not the super high contrast style that a lot of people do when they do Selbu mittens. I have about 4 or 5 people that I am thinking of for doing these as gift knits for next year. And if I do one every other month, kind of in the middle, I take a weekend or like 2 weekends, do one knit or one mitten one weekend, do second one the next. And I do one every 2 months. I should definitely be able to stock these up for next Christmas, which is very, very exciting that I already have kind of my Christmas knit idea sorted out. The next project that I'm working on right now is another designer pattern, which is rare for me that I have multiple on the needles at the same time. Let me just put this away. I'm really hoping that the mic isn't giving any weird feedback when I move around. I don't have a lot of experience with this mic, so bear with me. There is a wind guard that typically goes on. It's like the little fluffy part, but it doesn't sit as well as I would have liked. When I got it, it kind of makes this clicking sound if you move it, and I do know that that doesn't sound very good on the video that I tested. So bear with me. Hopefully everything sounds okay. But that's kind of why I've made this decision to not have that on here. I have a lovely little handmade bag that I got from it was like a small town, it wasn't a small town, it was Canada Day Lake kind of fair, craft fair at the lake that we went to. This was a few years ago, but Poplar and Pine Sewis. Really like this as one of my knitting bags. And what I'm working on in here, that looks really terrible, is the halibut cowl. And I will be inserting the artist name or the designer names, realizing doing this that I'm going to have to take better notes and maybe not be quite so on the fly with my future videos. But I just want to get this one out here, so I will do my research afterwards and insert it. But this is my halibut cowl. Again, lighting's not great, so I will definitely have to try to insert some better pictures or videos in here. But it is another color work that I'm doing right now. I really enjoy the colors that I'm doing it up in. There's kind of a teal color. It's not coming up as well as I'd like on camera. And then this sort of autumnal, almost coppery orange. It's very cute. I think I saw this as like a project that somebody did under the listing on Ravelry, and I knew that I already had these, and I just really, really liked how they were looking. That is definitely not the ball band. We're going to need to be a little bit more prepared for the next one. Very, very nice sort of DK. Yeah, I would say this is like a DK weight yarn. I think this might be a Stell, but it might also be a Cascade. I will find the ball bands and put that information up here. I did not swatch for this project. I don't tend to swatch for my projects. That's just unfortunately how it is. I am looking at it thinking that it might be a little bit snug compared to the reference photos, but I also haven't blocked it at all. To me, so long as I can get it over my head, I think it's going to be fine. And yeah, she's got enough stretch. I think she's going to be able to go over my head. I will keep you apprised, though, how the progress on this one goes. And I'm very excited to wear it, even if I finish it in the spring before, or like if the snow disappears between now and when it's done. I will still be wearing this in the spring. I think it's really nice, bright colors. It's not specifically winter, so this might just be a year-round cute little cowl that I throw on if I feel like I want to add some knitting to my outfit. Okay. Okay, the next project that I'm going to share with you guys is also a colorwork project, but this is a me designed colorwork project. This is another cowl because apparently I decided to switch from doing my standard shawl knitting to more cowls. I love shawls. I love shawls. Shawls are kind of my thing. And yeah, sometimes you get to do a few too many and you lose interest in things, so you push to something else. But this is another design that I started quite a while ago. You can see that I've got some tensioning discrepancies over from when I initially started. When I first started, I picked it back up around here, and you can kind of see that I held the wrong strand as my dominant, and it really does actually make a big difference of how the dominant and background yarns behave when you're doing your knitting like this. I am not ripping it back. We're not doing that. I do not have time for that. I do not have the energy for that. And my plan for this cowl, I really don't think it's going to be necessary. No one's going to see it except me. My intention for this particular pattern is to get this knit probably about double this size, and then I'm going to fold it in on itself. So it kind of does, it's going to be double layered, and that really I don't know if that actually showed up the way that I would have wanted it to. It's going to be kind of double layered like this, and my intention is going to be to have that weird transition point where I was holding the wrong yarn in my dominant hand. It's going to be on the inside. No one's going to care. No one's going to know but me and you guys. But yeah, so this is actually turning out quite nice. The yarns that I'm using are the white I know is in Estelle white, and then the background, the multicolored, which is just such a gorgeous multi-tonal yarn. I've been getting better at doing this. But this is a Malabrigo yarn, single, or the Malabrigo Rios yarn. This is a single lot. I think the color is 100. Oh, yeah. There we go. So glad I have this mirrored thing set up here. So there's technically no dye lot on this one, but it's gorgeous. I've really been enjoying knitting. Hopefully that's not really annoying. Been really enjoying knitting with this. It's very, very soft. It goes through my fingers really well. I've heard some good things and some negative things about Malabrigo yarn as a superwash yarn being really soft. and pilling quite a bit. I know there's a lot of people that love knitting with it. This is my first time actually knitting with this yarn, and we'll have to see how it holds up. But I figure with a cowl, it's not going to get as much wear and tear as a sweater would. So I'm not terribly concerned about that. Oh, I also have the ball band. Yes, this is definitely an Estelle yarn, and it's in the color Q61202. And just this really nice, like soft white yarn. I like the high contrast on this particular project as opposed to the mitts. The mitts are more, for me, no one really needs to see that giant pattern. I think for my gift knits, going back to that one, for my gift knits, I will be having more high contrast choices for the recipients in colors I think that they'll like, because I think they'll appreciate it maybe a little bit more. But yeah, this one I really do enjoy how the white kind of plays off the multicolor. Everything's just going to have to get its own inserted B-roll. But yeah, quite happy with this one. And my last project that I'm going to show you guys is a shawl that I am knitting for my mother. Oh, I like project bags, so I'm going to show you my project bags. Not that any of them necessarily are particularly pretty. Like the one that I showed before, it's very pretty. I quite like that one. This is a handmade one that I did. It's this little like sling style in a cream corduroy, and this really cute, primarily blues, lots of blues and greens, some little red flower fabric on the inside. And then I'm going to air all my dirty laundry on here. Just did the edges in this bias tape that I felt kind of matched the vibe of the inside. So this is what I have this particular cowl in right now, and it's a good size. I wasn't sure what sizes I would want when I was kind of making this bag. It's obviously designed after some very popular bags that you see off of Etsy. So I figure since it's for me and I have the skills to sew and to make bags, I just wanted a quick one, and it didn't have to be super special. I really, really love the ones on Etsy that you find. That's obviously, that one was kind of replicated off of. And one day I'm going to order one, hopefully a leather one or a black canvas. That would be sort of the ideal. But last project that we're going to talk about, because I feel like this is going to be a very long initial video. This project bag is from Longview Creations. It is a super adorable little Christmas sort of themed bag. I think this is the large bag. Just ignore all of that hair, and part of this is dog hair. I do have a palm. Some of this is definitely mine, but we're just going to ignore that because that's what happens. Lovely bag. I've had it for a long time. I believe the maker is out of, is it Calgary? In Alberta, which is fairly close to me here in Canada. So really enjoyed that it was a somewhat local maker that I could support. But this is a shawl that it's going to be really hard to show this one. I'm currently working on this for my mom. My mom specifically requested a shawl. She is a crocheter and she wanted a knit shawl because I do a lot of knitting. I've made shawls for multiple people. Made one for my brother for his birthday last year, I think. Maybe if I can find a picture of that one, I'll insert it. But this is a bear with me. Okay. This is a Red Heart yarn roll with its sparkle. And just have a color lot. This one's called Pixie. And it's got this little bit of metal thread in here as well. I don't know if you can see that. But my mom picked this out. She bought the yarn. She gave it to me a very long time ago to knit a shawl up for her. I don't particularly love the yarn, but I love my mom, so we are knitting her a shawl. And since I have had a little bit of time off this past week with my surgery, I've been trying to get through a few projects here that I went through a little bit of an inventory, and I realized that I have 9 works in progress. Oh, I have one more thing that I can show you. Maybe we'll leave that for the next one. I don't have maybe as much done on it as I would like, but this has been something that I've been working on quite a bit in the last few days. It is very scrunched up. I really, really need to change the cable to something a little bit longer. I think right now I'm on a 22-inch cable with my ChiaoGoo red lace needles. This is a 5mm. I have probably 4 or 5 pairs of this particular needle size because I knit a lot of worsted weight. And I really actually quite enjoy having interchangeable needles for that specific reason, because I can buy a bunch of different individual pieces and they store up a lot smaller than having dedicated cables or different cable lengths and different size needles for my different projects. But this shawl is just primarily garter stitch with some lace eyelets. No, maybe let's try to do that. Here we go. Garter stitch with some eyelets. It is very much a self-drafted pattern. I'm trying to keep kind of consistent spacing between the eyelet sections, but I'm not stressing about it too much. I know my mom won't care if it's exact, and to be honest, I don't have any intention of ever writing this one up. It's cute. I think maybe in a solid wool, like a solid color wool, I might like it a bit more, but we don't I was going to say we can't always like our projects. We should, I think, but sometimes you knit something for the process, which is definitely some of my other things. I enjoy the process of knitting those. I really enjoyed the process of my Selbu mittens. Sometimes you knit it for the finished object, and this is definitely going to be a finished object knit. That is the entire reason that I'm knitting this is so that I can give it to my mom. And I really hope that she does like it. I did want to do the garter stitch because hopefully that'll make it a little bit warmer for her. She wants it to wear around the house, kind of when she gets cold, and almost have it as a little cardigan substitute. Yeah. So this one I'm definitely going to be changing to a longer cable when we finish up here, because this is going to be my project for the rest of the day into the evening, my TV knitting for the next little bit. And hopefully by the time I do another video, I will have it done and I can show you guys the finished object. And I think my mom will be very happy to get this kind of around her shoulders. And I know she's going to show it off because I know my mom. But yeah, not entirely sure how to finish this off, but I really hope that you enjoyed at least some part of this video. Let me know if there's anything that I can work on to improve the quality of the video. Any suggestions for things that you guys would like to see. If you liked this video and like to see more, please like and subscribe, and happy crafting. Bye. I would like to call myself an aspiring. We're gonna have to do a lot of editing on this, I think. We're just gonna cut that out, Terry.